Right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us today for New Mexico's Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce Business Echo program. Today's session has been much anticipated, and we're looking forward to a wonderful presentation. And so I'd just like to start by giving a brief overview of our program. And so, as you may know, by using this model, we are creating this space where business owners and professionals, as well as entrepreneurs, can connect with experts and with each other, and really an all teach, all learn environment. And so, this is so we can work and grow together and to share knowledge. It's not about one person teaching and everybody else listening. It's about all of us learning together because when one of us grows stronger, we all grow stronger as a business ecosystem. And so, as you can see, there's a brief outline of today's agenda, um, as including our didactic presentation, as well as a discussion around some case studies. For some housekeeping, I just did want to mention that this session is being recorded, so please be mindful of what you choose to share. Please keep your mic muted if you are not speaking. And please keep your camera on if you could. It's always a pleasure to see your lovely faces and to put a face to a name and the organizations that are all here that you all represent. Please do use the chat for questions. If you have a question that arises, please use the chat. Um, please be kind and mindful of others. And if you could, please update your Zoom to show both your first and your last name and agency. If you do not know how to do that, there will be three dots right over your name where your photo is. If you right click on that, there should be a rename option for you. Perfect. So I will stop sharing my screen there. And so I'll start with a brief introduction. Again, I'm Dominic Baca. I am a destination sales representative here in our Convention and Tourism Department at the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also part of the Hub team. I'll pass it on to Laura to introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Chavez, and I'm a project manager here at the Hispano Chamber.
Thank you, Laura. Siloise?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Good morning, everyone. My name is Siloise Binikiseh, and I am your speaker for today.
Thank you, Siloise. Greg?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Mullen. I'm the CEO at ABQIT and member of the Hub team.
Thank you, Greg. And Liz, I know you're part of our team here and you're here in the room, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Garcia. I work in the membership department along with Laura.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Liz. I appreciate it. So yes, if you, for time's sake, if you can please introduce yourselves in the chat with your first and last name and then the organization that you're representing today, so that we can meet each other that way. Right now, I did want to share a quick poll with you all. And this is really just to garner some information about future sessions as well as develop on our curriculum so that we can offer curriculum that's based around what you all are wanting to see. And so I have started the poll. If you can quickly answer this, it would be much appreciated. So I do see those responses coming in. I'll give y'all a moment to answer. Looks like we have about 40% of people responding. I'll give you just a few more minutes. All right. couple more moments, and then we can go ahead and get to the moment we've all been waiting for. Awesome. So today, right now, we'll move on to our didactic presentation. Again, thank you so much, Siloise, for being here. Today's presentation is Start with the End in Mind by Siloise Binikiseh with Lumiere Financial Services. We're very honored to have her with us today, so thank you so much, Siloise. Let me get your slides up real quick, and then we can be on our way. Can everybody see that screen? All right. Perfect.
Next slide, please. Hey, good morning, everybody. Once again, I'm excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff, and hopefully you get value out of the presentation today. So with every presentation I do, I love to start with 5 things for which I don't have a slide today. And those are my values. And for those values lie faith, family, integrity, wealth, and relationships. I like to introduce myself that way so you know what I stand for and you know who you're hearing from. So for today's presentation, we will be going over why you need to plan a way out. I know it's kind of counterintuitive to start with the end in mind, right? But knowing why you are doing what you're doing will help you set the processes that you need to succeed, whatever exit means for you. You recognize and identify the hidden risks that are within your business if you already have a business, or if you're looking to exit within the next 3 to 5 years, or maybe tomorrow. Understanding what your cash flow is, finding out where your business stands, and, planning for what comes next. So this presentation is really for everybody, whether you're starting or you've been established for multiple years. Next slide, please. So the question goes to you, what if tomorrow never came? What is that going to mean for you? Maybe you get sick and end up in the hospital all of a sudden. It happens. Things we don't think about. Family emergency takes all of your time for months at a time. Or something unexpected comes up and you need to sell fast. Imagine that by tomorrow morning, you cannot go back to your business. Not next week, and maybe not ever. Then what happens next? Will the business you've built keep going without you? Do your employees know what to do and who is in charge? Will money keep coming in? Or are you like the one-stop shop where when you're not there, then the business crumbles? Does your family or whoever you put as your next of kin understand or have access to important documents such as your account information, records, and is there a clear plan for someone to actually follow? The issue is most business owners spend years building their companies, but very few spend much time getting it ready for a future where they are not running things, right? So the way I like to put it is a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, spend so much time working in their business versus working on their business, right? And the scalability of your business depends on you working on your business. Next slide, please. So today I want to introduce you to Kiana and Javier. This is actually a real scenario. I was having this conversation with a client 2 weeks ago, and she let me share. So I just kind of changed the names for their privacy. Kiana happens to be one of my best employees, and Javier happens to be one of my best contractors. So I figured, pair them up. So their business. Kiana and Javier had a successful business together for years. This was a successful business out of California, and by most measures, things looked really good. They had a loyal customer base, that kept growing. They had steady revenue year after year, a business that paid for their family's life. They had good employees who counted on them, and they had a strong name built through years of hard work. By most measures, that is a successful business. However, how did they spend their time? Like most business owners, I would dare to say 80% of business owners, Kiana and Javier were involved in almost everything from day to day. Most of their energy went into, they were helping their customers in keeping relationships strong. They were managing their employees. They were fixing daily issues as they came up and growing sales and keeping cash flowing. They were in every way the heart of their business. And for a long time, that was fine until life changed. A medical diagnosis changed everything for Kiana and Javier. They had to decide in a moment to sell their business. They didn't have the choice of saying we'll sell in 5 years. That moment hit them without them seeing it coming. So they didn't have the choice to decide when to sell, how to hand things up. The decision was an urgent decision. And that is really the heart of this conversation today. Because as we're building, I want us to think about these things. So the next couple of slides will just be a few questions for you as you go through the case study. I think there's someone in the waiting room. So question 1, before you give Kiana and Javier any advice, and just put your responses in the chat as you go through, I want you to take a minute to think through it. If a friend or business partner came to you with this problem, a business that built over the years, now suddenly facing a big change, what will you need to know to give them good advice? You can put your answers in the chat, and then we can give it about a minute, and then we can move on to the next slide. So what are some things you need to know to give them good advice? Next slide, please.
Mhm.
Would you need to know their revenue? How much money does the business actually bring in each year? Is it going up? Is it staying the same? Or is it going down? What has happened over the last 3 to 5 years? How much profit are they actually making? What liabilities do they have in terms of debts and obligations or cash reserves? Do they have solid employees? Someone who manages the business in their absence? Employees that are actually trained? And have they had a business valuation done? This is always an interesting one because most business owners evaluate their businesses in their mind. And for some magical reason, everybody thinks $1 million is the magic number. But today we'll find out why valuing your business in your mind and not actually having processes in place can be detrimental for your business. Next slide, please. So what risk might Kiana and Javier have missed as they went through their struggles? The issue is most small business owners stay focused on growth and the day-to-day. So the big risks often get ignored. And they always push up the most important things for the future without realizing that the future might never come. So in this case, what risk did Javier and Kiana miss? Did they have a continuity plan? Who takes over the business if something were to happen? Do they have any kind of disability or key person insurance that will help them in the moment that they face? Because in this case, it was the health emergency that took them out, took Kiana out of business and had to force them to sell. Did they have an emergency fund enough to cover at least 6 to 12 months of their expenses? Do they have a strong team, team that knows how to make decisions without them, and that can keep the business going? And do they have the processes documented? Do they have, where are the contracts? What are the SOPs? What are the key passwords that they need to know? What are the legal compliance issues? What departments have they set up for themselves, even as a small business? What are some of those contingencies that they've set up for themselves? These are some of the risks that Kiana and Javier missed or had the opportunity to deal with, but they didn't deal with it in time because they kept pushing it. Next slide, please.
So Louise, Alejandro has a comment in the chat box.
Okay.
Alejandro, would you like to unmute yourself to read your comment?
Oh yeah. I was just considering, how they have to do the change and what they're going to be valuation. Basically, the things they have to consider if they're going to be selling their business at this time.
Sorry, can you repeat that for me?
Basically, have you going over what they need to value with their business if they have to sell it right now? Basically, what the market looks like, how they're going to value it, and looking at their books for understanding what other their enterprise value versus their equity value.
Absolutely. So that will be covered a little bit down when I talk about the 6 gaps that business owners should watch out for. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit more extensively. Did that cover your question or comment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then moving on, please. So we were at question 3. The next slide. All right, and so what makes the business really worth something? Is it the reliable cash flow? Do they have clear steps in systems? And systems is a really big one. Do they have a strong team? Whether that is an in-person team, a virtual team, or what I like to call the bill team, which is their banker, their accountant, the insurance personnel, and their lawyer, or are they named that people trust? Because typically, if you see, say, for example, Albertson, right? You can trust that, but a mom and pop shop or a smaller business that may not be quite as established, how do I trust you? How do I know that your business is worth something without all these other things? Moving on. So case study, question 4. If Kiana could never come back to work, what then would have happened? Who runs payroll? Do they have a company that runs the payroll? Do they have someone in-house that manages the HR department? Who talks to the employees? Who is that key person who pays vendors, who accesses the bank account, and who makes these decisions? Most businesses, you would find, especially the small businesses, have one person who's that key person, and it's typically the owner, right? So how do you move from being the owner to really being stop being the one working in your business is really what we are evoking in you today. Next, please. And what happened if Kiana were to pass away? Do they have a folder that has all the important documents? Who then do they call? What happens to ownership? And, what did she want to do? Why was she building this? What was the legacy that she wanted to leave behind? So the lessons we learned, and this are lessons that talking to my client who shared this with me, these are some of the comments that she had. She was like, we never really had an exit plan. We always thought we'd figure it out when the time came, but the time came sooner than expected. We probably could have sold for more if we had started getting things ready early. She said they focus mostly on their P&L, the watch the income statement, but they never thought about what would make the business worth more to someone else. We never talked about what will actually make us want to sell, what our number was, when we'd want to do it, or what life after the business would really look like. We built a business that brought in money, but not one that was really built to be sold, handed off, or keep going without us. And how many of us can resonate with the comments that are coming from a fellow business owner who has gone through actually exiting a business because of an unforeseen life situation? I think many of us may be able to relate to this, because Kiana's story is not unusual. A lot of business owners say the same things when they are to leave without a plan. The difference, though, between regret and being ready is planning ahead, and that starts today. Next slide, please. So the question is not whether you would leave your business, because every business owner does leave their business. The only question is how, right? And whether you're leaving because of retirement, because of a disability, because of death, because you're just tired of doing it over and over and over again, and you've just come to the end of your road, or maybe you just get a really good opportunity to sell your business. You will leave your business, but how would you leave? So let's talk a little bit about revenue versus value. Revenue is the total amount of money your business brings in, right? From sales, services, or other sources before the bills are paid. Profit is actually what you get to keep, okay? But the business value is what a real buyer will be willing to pay for your company today. If I were to ask, and you can put this in the chat, when was the last time you looked at or you had a business valuation done on your business if you've been in business for 3 or more years? So why does value beat revenue all the time? Let's say you have 2 businesses, and I use pharmacy because my background is in pharmacy. You have 2 businesses, right? 2 pharmacies. Pharmacy A is bringing in $2 million a year, and it is an independent pharmacy. The owner is the one handling all the important decisions and all the vendor relationships and all patient conversations. Whereas you have pharmacy B, where there's a team that runs without the owner. They have loyal patients and steady income. The same 2 million in revenue, but 2 different scenarios. Who do you think is going to sell faster, and who do you think is going to be worth more to an investor? You want to ensure that the business that you're running doesn't only help you live well today, but it's a business that you're ready to exit whenever that exit calls for. So building a business and not a job, most of us as small business owners are in the self-employed job trap, right? We navigated out of maybe the corporate world to go build this empire, but then we find ourselves working harder than we ever worked at our 9-to-5s or corporate jobs. But there is a way out. There is a way out. You just need to make sure that you have the right strategies in place. And so when you ask yourself, where are you today? Do you handle most of your patient or customer conversations yourself? Do you have employees that cannot make decisions without you? You don't want to be the bottleneck, right? Is your revenue consistent, or does it drop if you take off? No one else knows how things work. Does that sound like you? Well, there's hope, because you can move to being a real business owner that understands freedom, and you can step away without fear of, everything else falling apart. You have the flexibility. You choose how you spend your time, energy, and attention, especially maybe you stop working in the business and start working on the business 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you can work in your business. Wealth, what does that mean for you as an owner? Is your business truly something valuable that someone can pay you for all the hard work that you've done? Right? Stop thinking about your business maybe as a product or service, and start thinking about it as something that, as an asset that you can sell to help you build and bridge the wealth gap that you started your business for initially. And options. You have options. You can choose if you want to sell, if you want to hand it over, if you want to retire, or maybe you want to keep it in your lineage for a really long time. So there's 6 gaps that every business owner must close. And we have one, the business value gap, which is, could someone comfortably buy your business tomorrow? The financial readiness gap, could you step away and still afford it? Do you know your numbers? The leadership gap, are you the sole person within your business that can make decisions, or who steps in when you're not there? The continuity gap, what happens if something unexpected happens? You have estate planning, right? Which a lot of business owners sometimes also fail to look into. What happens, to what you own after you're gone, or if you have a disability, or somebody else has to make decisions on your behalf. And then, of course, the legacy gap. What is the true reason you're building anyways? What is the true reason you started your company? What is the true reason you found this problem and you're providing a solution for? Ultimately, the motivation for most business owner is the financial reward that comes with it. But beyond that financial reward, what is deeper within that keeps you going? What is that why? So let's look at the business valuation gap that most business owners don't think about. What is it that most business owners don't think about? They don't think about their books on the steady. They try to do it themselves. They really don't know what their numbers are. Their records are messy. Do they have a consistent cash flow, or they're just going based off of hope? And hope is typically not a strategy. Do they have a strong customer base, and do they have strong systems in place? Because those are the things that buyers are looking for. Buyers are not looking for an aesthetically pleasing brand. They're not looking for more work. When investors are looking at your business, they're looking at a business that they know that when they come in and they're taking the risk on you, they're going to have a return on their investment. So what is going to help you show this buyer that the ROI will be worth it? So you want to make sure that you cover some of these things. And after today's conversation, maybe look at some of these things within your own business and ask yourself where you are or where you stand. Next slide, please. So the money readiness gap. Do you even understand where you are? Number one, you understand your cash flow, what's going in, what's coming out. Do you have liquidity? Do you have assets that can readily be turned into cash? Do you have 6 to 12 months of working capital that can sustain your business if maybe your accounts receivables didn't come in on time? What is your true net worth? And some key questions for you as the owner of your business are, do you have retirement savings? Because most business owners fail to do one thing. They depend so much on the revenue that's coming in, and that business is their exit strategy. And they forget that in order to exit, you still need money to live after the business, whether you retire at 40 or you retire at 75. You still do need money to live off of. So do you have savings or retirement accounts outside of your business? Are you doing anything like a solo 401k, a SEP IRA and all of those things? Do you have enough personal savings? Do you have investments outside of the business, or are they opportunities for you to get investments or purchase other assets outside of your business? For example, if you have a brick and mortar business, and say you are renting or leasing an office, are you thinking about maybe potentially buying your own commercial building, and that becomes an asset to the business. And if you sold the business for what it's worth today, will that plus your other assets be enough to retire you the way you want or the way you envision? Do we have any questions so far?
No, we just had a couple of comments.
Okay.
As far as when you asked if their business has been evaluated, we had two people that said that they've never had it appraised.
Okay. Next slide, please. And the leadership gap, when you initially start your business, it's you and just you. But as your business grows and becomes steady, the three important decisions that you need to ask yourself, because your managers are going to have your best interest at heart, and those are the people you want to bring in. So you have to ask yourself, who can make those decisions when you're not there? Who can best run the day-to-day work, and who handles customer problems? Everything cannot be bottlenecked to you because you will be tired, and that's what leads to burnout, and that's why you need the system. So you start thinking about hiring and maybe what departments and who you need to bring on. And all of that is also dependent, and all of that goes back to your cash flow and your revenue. So how well you structure your business will really help you scale and possibly get into closing the leadership gap today. And then, of course, continuity. One of the things that most business owners fail to do is think about continuity, because what if all of these happen without a backup plan? Talking to a restaurant owner who is he's the chef, he is the server, he's just in business, and he's like, oh, I had to close my doors on Monday because I was too tired. I just couldn't make it. Now, if I am a customer and I go eat and this happens multiple times, what kind of review do you think I'm going to be leaving on Google? The restaurant is typically closed. I guess they don't want my money. Again, why does that happen? Because there's no continuity. There's no personnel outside of that sole owner. And imagine that this business owner had to be ill or stay in the hospital for maybe 2 weeks or even a week. How much lost revenue and how much opportunities lost there. Think about your disability, right? Long-term disability can definitely keep an owner out. You do have, anything that's worse than unexpected death is unexpected medical diagnosis, which takes us back to Kiana and Javier, where they were forced to sell their business in order to continue making sure they could take care of themselves. And luckily today they are successful business owners and they are doing something very different. But when they sold their first business, those were some of the lessons that they learned. Unexpected death happens, right? And maybe a key person leaves. And this is a trap too that some business owners can fall into, depending on one singular employee where there is one point of failure. You want to make sure that there is someone who's trained. So you always want to train someone's replacement, right? And training someone's replacement could be leaving someone, making sure that you have SOPs that are outlined with, that person's role, what they cover, key things that they do for the business, or having them start training their replacement. And there are multiple ways that you can do this too. And there are programs that are free to business owners where they can bring in interns as well to kind of help cover some of these gaps. Next slide, please.
Siloise, we have a comment in the chat box
Okay.
from David. David, would you like to unmute yourself?
Sure. So I worked for a company where she loved the employees and she loved the business that we did. And she didn't want to sell the company off. So she created, and she wanted to retire. So she created a transition plan where she would leave and transfer ownership to employees. which was wonderful. But she had the plan in place, but before she was able to put a transition strategy into place, she actually had a heart attack and passed away. So it left a gap in the company. There was a lot of short-term panic, and because she hadn't designated a new CEO, so there was a lot of confusion with that. And I know this is probably not part of this part of the estate planning gap part, but it did burden the company with, because essentially she made the company buy her ownership, which created a lot of debts, and the company took 17 plus years to pay off its debt, which um, I don't know whether that was a wise decision or not, but I thought I would mention it.
And how long had she had the company for before she decided to create the ESOP?
Oh, she was she had the company about 27 years or so, 27, 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was also an opportunity and that's an opportunity, right? Why we're having this conversation today, because think about it. This company was in place for 27 years, but they hadn't thought about an exit strategy until 27 years later. That is a little too late, because she probably already figured out she had health issues. Maybe she wasn't going to make it, and multiple other factors. And that's why starting with the end in mind is really important, because once you know where you're going, then you know what are the steps to take throughout that journey, whether you map it out for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And that's why some of the most successful companies know exactly when to exit, right? And so thank you so much for sharing, because that's the reality for a lot of business owners. And hopefully this conversation can change that for those of us who are on here today, and we can share this with our peer groups as well, and kind of help make sure that we are in a much better place than we have seen before, right? We know better and we can do better. So thanks, David, for sharing. I appreciate you. And so the estate planning gap, what happens to your business and stuff after you're gone, right? Most people don't think about it. Do you personally have a will in place? Do you have a trust document? Do you have your power of attorney, and are your beneficiaries updated? Things that we're just running and we're not necessarily thinking about, oh, I'll do that tomorrow and I'll do that next month and I'll do that, at the end of the year, or January comes and we're so good with making sure we review everything, but then 6 months after we've not reviewed anything at all. What then happens to you? These are some of the things that us as business owners sometimes forget to think about, but they're necessary for us to think about, because then it helps not only with business continuity, but it also gives our family and the people that we love the peace of mind that they really need to have, should the unexpected happen, like it happened to Javier and Kiana. So imagine if Kiana, Javier were sole proprietors, and each other did not have the backup of the other person. What then will happen? Do they have that estate planning laid out for them? And what would happen, should the unexpected happen? Because it would. Next slide, please. And then, of course, the legacy gap. What do you want to do with your business? You want to sell the business, pass it to family, sell to employees. We just talked about the ESOP right now, as David shared with us, or, build wealth for generations. What does that look like for you? That's a question for you to answer. So here's a scorecard that I created, and just take a quick moment to look over it. It says for each 9 areas below, give yourself a score from 1 to 10. A score of 1 means this area is barely started and not addressed at all. A score of 10 means you have fully covered with written steps, expert help, a plan you can actually use. Be honest. This works best when you score where you really are and not where you hope to be. And this is like the harsh reality, the part that I don't like to do, because it's just like, oh my God, I feel very visible, right? And that's probably what you're feeling right now. You feel very vulnerable. It's scary to do, but it is necessary to do. So The first area is, do you know your revenue? Do you know your numbers? Do you know your numbers? When was the last time you took a look at your P&L, your balance sheet? You know, when was the last time you did that? Is your business solely relying on you? Do you have people who can solve problems, make decisions, and teach others? Do you have systems and steps in place? I think one project echo ago, they were talking about Claude Cowork. Are you taking advantage of some of these systems and implementing IT into your business if it fits? Do you have a strong brand that resonates with clients and that can potentially bring on new clients? Do you have a risk mitigation plan in place? What are your future plans? Do you have all of that outlined? Do you have clear goals? When you look at your business plan, does it maybe need to be updated based on where you are right now in business and where you started? And how do you keep things going? What family and future plans do you have? So this is a scorecard that you can take a look at today. Score yourself for where you are. This is not a pass fail, but it is more so an awareness creation tool for you to know exactly where you stand today. So what did your total score look like? Again, no matter what your score got you today, the most important thing is to pick your lowest area and do one specific thing about it within the next 30 days. Small steps done steadily and on purpose can lead to big change over time. So you don't need to go fix every single thing today. Just one little step can get you started today in the right direction. So what are some things you can do within the next 30 days to make sure that you can change the areas where you don't feel necessarily comfortable or you scored the lowest? Maybe meet with a lawyer. You can set up a meeting with a lawyer who handles, wills and business planning if you need to update some of those estate planning things. Have an emergency binder where you put it can be digital or hard copy, but where you put all the key information and context and everything that is very pertinent to the business, that if someone walked in, they could know exactly where to pick up from without necessarily calling you or needing to go through hell and high water to get the information. Train at least one additional key employee. That could be an actual person, or it could be your AI virtual assistant. Write down one important process. What is the one thing that you want your business to improve upon in the next 30 days that will keep you out of trouble? Review your numbers, review your numbers. I would say at the minimum once a week, but if you can, once a month is a good one too, and possibly look at your quarterly reports as well, so that by the end of the year you're not caught with any surprises. And of course, update your beneficiaries. Life changes all the time, so you don't want to be the gentleman who passed away and his ex-wife got the proceeds from his life insurance company and is fighting over, his current wife is fighting and suing the ex-wife for the proceeds, but the beneficiary was not updated. So those are some things that you want to think about. Next, please. And so it's not too late. It's not too late. One thing that is certain though is that every business owner leaves someday. That part is certain. However, though, it's not the business owners that leave well, it's not because they are smarter than you. It's not because they're luckier than you. They just decided to act before crisis made the decision for them, like in the case of Kiana and Javier. So are you building a business that is worth something? Build money that gives you freedom and build a legacy that lasts longer than both the business and the money that you have worked so hard for. Next slide, please. So at this point, this concludes our presentation today, and we're open for questions and discussion.
Thank you so much, Siloise. That was a wonderful presentation, and I think it just really reflects so many realities and things to be cognizant of when business owners are looking at their strategy or their long-term strategy overall. So thank you so much. I'll open it up to the audience. Do we have any questions, comments, any general thoughts around today's presentation? I think there was some wonderful information and some great takeaways.
I have a comment. What stands out in my mind is, even if you're considering starting a business, I think this information is so invaluable. I think it just, there are things that, I mean, people have, different, when they look at their reason for starting the business, finances as a motivation. And then even when they look deeper, at their why, I think there's still a whole lot of information that they're not able to really kind of think about. And this to me was, just kind of thinking like, oh, wow, there is just so much to consider that a lot of people might not even anticipate. So I feel like this is invaluable. I mean, not only to people who have existing businesses, but, potential new businesses.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that comment.
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Laura. Do we have any additional comments or thoughts from anyone here on the Zoom call?
Yeah,
Well,
just to chime in
yeah.
and echo the sentiment quickly. I'm definitely inspired to take some action. So I really appreciate the content because it's, like you said, heavy to think about and but something that everyone's going to have to deal with at some point. I appreciate too the use of AI in your presentation. You're absolutely correct that some of what we do in my experience in AI work has led to things like enabling somebody who's worked at the business for a really long time and has tons of domain knowledge inside their head, and we're able to get some of that in the form where other people can use it. AI can help with that sort of activity when it comes to planning this continuity. So all really good stuff to think about. We all like to think of our businesses as assets, and it's not an asset if you can't turn it into money. And so I think really great content. So thank you.
Thank you for that feedback, Greg. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. And I think that there's so much for us to think about, whether we're just starting a business, if you're an entrepreneur or someone looking to start a new venture as well. I think that these considerations are imperative to the success of our long-term goals as individual business people, and that really is what in the end makes or breaks the legacy, I guess, that people work so hard to build. So thank you so much, Siloise. I appreciate it. Do we have any final questions for Siloise, or any final comments on today's presentation? If not, I'd like to just again, thank you, Siloise, for being here. It was such an honor to have you, and we look forward to having you again in the future. I'd also like to remind everybody that to please look for our sessions on our iEcho homepage. And of course, if there's ever any questions that y'all have, please reach out to us at hispanochamberecho@gmail.com. I'm going to pause for a moment and actually bring up one more poll, and this will be a post-session poll, really so that we can garner, again, a little bit more information on your thoughts and ideas for future sessions and how we could improve and deliver the best possible content for future sessions. So the poll is live now. I'll give y'all a few minutes to complete that poll, and then we can move on. I see the answers rolling in. Thank you so much. I think this is wonderful. It's really nice because this information does help us shape future curriculum, as well as helps us to find subject matter experts around the topics that interest you and are most imperative to you and your business growth. I'll keep it open just for a few more minutes. Looks like we have about 6 respondents, so I'll leave it open for a little bit longer. Awesome. So while I leave that open, I'll just follow with some closing remarks. I'd like to remind everybody again, our sessions do happen the first and third Tuesday of every month, as well as please keep an eye out for our upcoming session topic that will be posted on our IECO homepage. And of course, if you have any questions, please do reach out to us. There will be a link to our IECO homepage in the chat. And that will lead directly to our page, whether you have any questions or you'd like to join the sessions or register as well, or share with your colleagues. Please do share these ECHO sessions through the Business ECHO program at the Hispano Chamber of Commerce with your colleagues, as it does help us to grow our audience as well as the participation that we have, and it allows us to work together more collaboratively. And with that, I don't have anything else, but Laura, do you have any final comments?
I just want to thank you again, Siloise, for your presentation. It has been valuable. And again, please, everyone, share this session, and please visit our playlist on YouTube for past sessions. And thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, Siloise.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.